So what I would like to talk today about is, and impress upon all of you, is that we have an opportunity as behavioral scientists, as marketing researchers, as marketers, as behavioral scientists, whatever your role is in the companies that you work for, to tilt product innovation for a more sustainable future. And so that's what I want to talk about today. So when I talk about tilting, what I'm talking about is aligning your corporate ESG goals with food or product innovation goals that can achieve a bottom line success. So it's doing both. And I think there's tremendous opportunity to do both. It doesn't have to be a trade-off. And in particular, if you think about food, I'm going to be talking a lot about food product innovation, but it can be any kind of product innovation. It all starts with behaviors. And this schematic I'm showing you it starts with understanding the landscape of behaviors, the possibilities of where people are buying products and using products, understanding where your brands can play within those landscapes, and then looking for how to create white space within the categories that you're going to be competing in. And not just looking for white space, but the importance of how do you create white space that can achieve and do this tilting of your product innovation for a more sustainable future. So the basis, though, for what opportunities are, I think, is understanding the schematic is what is the changes that are going on, because change is where opportunity comes from. There's change on the consumer side, and there's change also in the industries that you're playing. So in utilizing this more of a food product innovation examples, which I'm going to be showing today, on the consumer side, we've been doing research about the last 6 years, really understanding what is the change that is impacting this whole idea of sustainability. And what we're seeing is trust is underlying a lot of the changes going on, both in how consumers trust the products, what are they doing to cope with knowing what is healthy and what is sustainable, as well as the institutional trust that there's a lot of, I should say, distrust that is going on today with a lot of consumers. And there's also a lot of social media change. There's a lot of role of influencers that are really changing consumers' attitudes and impacting their buying practices. There's a lot of implicit biases that consumers have. And we've been tracking implicit biases through some new metrics that we've been developing at Insights Now. And these are changing demands, changing the buying sort of criteria and motivations for some segments of consumers when it comes to sustainability. So I want to show some data that we just came out of field. It's the first time we've shown this today to look at this sort of consumer side, what is changing. The other piece, though, is what is going on in companies. And there's a lot more now C-level sustainability officers that some companies have been bringing in, and as VPs or senior vice presidents of innovation and strategy, having major sustainability sort of initiatives, organizationally. So a lot of ESG initiatives are starting. We're seeing more and more. There's also the international sustainability standard boards, sort of metrics that are going to be coming into play here the next few years, generating all sorts of opportunities for sort of a top-down approach to create more sustainable, to tilt innovation towards sustainability. And so with this innovation, what it does is it creates, I think, a cycle, reinforcing and exposing consumers to a lot of more new brands, new products, and new product attributes that is fueling the consumer, can fuel consumer change towards a more sustainable future. So And looking at just the front-end innovation, because I think the front-end innovation is where we all have the greatest opportunity as researchers to impact change. Because at the front end of innovation is where we can look at these landscapes, understand where the opportunities are, as well as then look at how to create white space. So I want to talk about that from a couple of different pieces of research. The first is understanding the landscape and demand that we're seeing. And second thing is, how do you understand what consumers are being exposed to so that you can create white space that is for more sustainable products? So let's go to the stuff on here on the landscape of consumer demand. This is some research that we fielded just recently. It was looking at three things. Number one is how to better identify consumers' sort of aspirations for products in specific moments of their lives. The second piece was to understand what consumers are really doing and what is the gap between their aspirations and what they're really doing today. And third, to utilize or optimize as an opportunity, how to do as Sarah was talking about, sort of how do you market more green products. So this was just under 3,000 consumers that were in field. We looked at various different segments, and one of the segments we've been tracking for the last several years is a group called Clean Label Enthusiasts. Really interesting segment. They're about 27% of primary shoppers in the US. And they're different in a number of ways. Number one is they read the labels. They read the back panel on labels. And they take action against that. They're very concerned about not only health and wellness, but as we're discovering more about sustainability today. And this whole idea in terms of food behavior, this whole concept of clean eating is really important to their lifestyles. What we did is we fielded this as a survey, and we developed we're applying some implicit techniques as well as some techniques that we're trying to put people in the mindset as much as possible into a system one mode of thinking. And this is a number of various different attributes that we looked at in terms of understanding sustainability aspirations as well as motivation. So they bucketed into things that are more sustainable production, packaging sustainability, as well as animal welfare. So quite a few things that we were looking at, along with health and wellness, along with things that are important like price, value trade-offs, taste, as well as things like convenience. And just to show you some data here, because this is just coming out of field, so I'm just showing you some information really quickly. But if you look at these people that are not clean label enthusiasts, which is not the 27%, but the rest of primary shoppers, you can see their aspirations are very much driven by price value, very much driven by taste. If you look at clean label enthusiasts, so what is their greatest aspirations, you see all the health and wellness claims coming in, or motivations coming into it. So healthiness, high quality ingredients, nutritious, no artificial flavors, natural, brands they trust. What is interesting is when you look at the next level down in aspirations, this is that's 20 to 40% range. And what you find here is that amongst non-clean label enthusiasts, these sort of health and wellness qualities come in, which were primary for clean label enthusiasts. But when you look at clean label enthusiasts, look at all of the things that are important to them. They are very important and concerned about a lot of different types of motivators for different moments of their lives, different products, and in particular, the stuff that I'm highlighting here, these are sustainability. Sustainability sort of motivations are coming into play with these clean label enthusiasts and other target market segments. So the opportunities for developing products in the food industry in particular are increasing. dramatically. It's becoming, so the opportunity there, the demand is there. You're seeing these gaps as well between not only their aspirations, but the things that are higher in this, the upper part of these quadrant maps are the things that have the highest demand, which means that products, for whatever reason, people are not actually buying them. They're maybe trading away, or they're not being able to find these products on the marketplace. And you see, clean label enthusiasts are very different in terms of their buying environmentally friendly products. It's a major influence by over half. People saying that is very much to extremely important to them as factors for their buying behaviors. And they're making a lot of trade-offs. So just for environmentally friendly trade-offs, clean label enthusiasts are willing to trade away taste and convenience, price and convenience, but not taste. Really interesting. Further, if you look at sort of these packaging sort of trade-offs, recyclable, compostable, plastic-free, reusable packaging, you're seeing the same sort of trends where clean label enthusiasts now are willing to trade away price, convenience, but not taste. And you see the same thing with regard to, I'm just highlighting this in plastic free because in 2019, we did the same piece of research and we found that it's about a 10-point swing increase both from clean label enthusiasts and regular primary shoppers are all increasing in terms of the types of trade-offs that they're willing to make. So this is a trend that's coming. It's I think, creating opportunities. So from this sort of, we call it the Aspirational Compass project, and in looking at these aspirations and these gaps and the trade-offs that these consumers are making, we're finding that, again, this is a great new metric that can be utilized to understand demand in a different way. Price, value, taste, convenience are primary drivers. Health and wellness are certainly secondary, especially in certain segments. But these clean label enthusiasts are leading in being much more aspirational in terms of buying products that are more sustainable. Okay, so what about the other side? So in looking at white space and how to create white space within this landscape of opportunity, what we're seeing is that if you think about, this is what we call a habit flywheel, and it's a framework we developed, it's a behavioral framework where the faster this goes around, the more habitually the habit or the behavior is. So if you want to change behaviors, the question is, how do you need to stop the flywheel from spinning around, or if you want to foster and reinforce behaviors, you speed it up. And the ways that, in terms of looking at white space that you could create, there's 5 types of white space. The first type is behavioral white space, where you can create cues that trigger various different routines or behaviors. Okay? And that these routines and behaviors do create white space in that they can change what the competitive set is that consumers are willing to buy for specific moments of their lives. Secondly, sensory white space. This is white space by creating cues into the product design that signal a reward. Those cues, so we're looking at doing research right now to creating cues that signal something is, as a reward, more sustainable. Third is that you can look at product or ingredient white space. That means new rewards for buying products, such as what Sarah was talking about green products. And last, but more importantly, from the brand perspective, is to create unique associations between the brand as a cue and the reward. And that completes the cycle. So there's a lot of opportunities for creating white space to design and develop products to bring into the marketplace. So if you think about product white space, this is some trending data looking at so things that were either various different sustainability sort of attributes. And you see a lot of things trending up over the last 10 years. You see, produce sustainability, environmentally friendly, carbon neutral, and palm-free. Palm-free is having an uptick just in the last 4 or 5 years as people start realizing that palm oil is is part of what is taking a lot of clear cutting of forest land. Looking at product white space, there's a lot of animal welfare sort of claims that are also on the uptick, such as there's ingredient white space. There's a lot of hero ingredients that we were seeing coming into the marketplace, and that's on the uptick, as well as now behavioral white space, as I was showing you earlier with packaging opportunities. You're seeing more claims, more sort of ways in which to be able to market. The last piece is to show that this idea of creating sensory white space, what does that mean? Well, you can think about sensory as just package design, the form and the function of packaging. So we did some research here a couple of years ago looking at packaging materials, size, form, and function, and found that clean label enthusiasts are very sensitive to the type of packaging for food products, as well as the different types of packaging materials for beverage products. And this is 27% of consumers. So it's a significant part of our marketplace. Clean packaging claims, you can see the compostable, recyclable, and made from recycled and BPA free are really important claims for a lot of consumers, influencing their buying practices. We're seeing that food packaging and beverage packaging, it depends also on the context of use. So if it's something for routine home use versus on-the-go convenience, you see some information about these trade-offs I was talking about in terms of the influences. So with that, looking at both how to create this white space within landscapes of demand, this idea of tilting food product innovation, I think we all have an opportunity to help the brands, help the companies that we are to make a difference in whatever role that we have, to apply behavioral science, to drive this change, to understand this landscape of opportunities, to where is there sustainable white space that we can create, as well as to activate these behavioral insights through, I think, taking a much more consultative role and not just providing insights, but taking a role into how to design sort of products that are much more sustainable, so be recognized as being more sustainable, as well as marketing to them with claims that will address the needs and interests of consumers. So with that, what I like to do is make this a conversation that we can all continue to have. We have at Insights Now an educational series. I know a lot of you here are looking for learning more and more. We have of the three sort of pillars of areas that we are focused on. One is sustainability, the other is health and wellness, and the third is DEI sort of initiatives that we're doing. In this educational series, if you're interested, on the 22nd of this month, we'll be holding a webinar, and you can click on this code here, or type in this little bit.ly INI for Insights Now Sustain to join in the conversation. We'll be showcasing a lot more content from this research that we just completed on looking at the Aspirational Compass project. And if you can't make the 22nd, well, we'll be doing this webinar. It'll be recorded, so you'll have access to listen to it when you're able to. So we like to create this conversation. Thanks for IIEX today for having this series that we had, which I think is so important because we have to act now. Now's the time that we can go back and make a difference, applying our behavioral science, apply our behavioral research and our insights capabilities to make a difference in the world. Thank you.